Yes, this is 372 pages we'll never get back. Michael J. Nelson here along with Connor Listoka. Hi, Connor.
Hey, Mike, what's happening?
Oh, I don't know. We're reading a dirty book. Yeah, this is the podcast where we read books that we're probably not going to like. We've done the works of Ernest Cline. We've done the works of Jim Tice. I think we've done the entire oeuvre of Jim Tice, right?
Yeah, he was not very prolific, sadly.
No, it's very sadly, yes. And we are currently working on, what's her name? P.G. Woodhouse, E.L.
Close.
Taro.
Yes.
What is it?
El Greco, I think.
Okay.
E.L. James, the author of the 50 Shades trilogy, the retelling of the 50 Shades trilogy from the man's perspective, and now The Mister, the latest bestseller from this romance novelist titan, I guess you could say.
Yeah, and we have all of our departments today. Well, no, we don't have any mail.
No,
we don't have any mail, but we have dumb sentence of the week, and we have fanfic.
Yes, we do. People stepped up their game with some early fanfic. It's it's hard to say, it's hard to know what to seize on for this book, I would say, but people did their best effort. We'll see what the tropes that develop over the next additional 450 pages might be.
Well, to kick things off, I just want to pose a question to you, Connor. Why do you keep distracting me with your giant pink panties? I don't know why you had to mail those to me, but here I am. I'm trying to write, and there they are, hanging on my wall.
Mike, I think you might be a pervert. That might be something that is just occurring to me after this.
Oh my goodness! Wow. This is,
yeah. So was it more or less than you expected? I guess going into this pretty much with no expectations of what we were going to get here.
Yeah, not surprisingly, I am not familiar with the genre. I've tried to recall, is there any circumstance under which I would have read anything like out of curiosity, or it was super popular and I wanted to see what it was like, and I can't think of a single thing that would be anywhere near this genre. How about you?
I mean, I think that at some point in time there might have been a friend of mine who was like, a woman who was like ironically into romance novels, but not really. So like, handed me one, and I read two paragraphs of it, and it was like, not for me. If I want this, I can get it elsewhere in better detail. So it wasn't something that I've ever experienced either. So yeah, I wasn't really prepared for what these what sort of level of filth these book clubs were getting into, I guess.
Yeah, I assume these nice women. I assume a lot of women read these. I could be wrong. I don't know. But yeah, they're sitting around reading. It's pretty filthy at points. And
sure.
I did a search. I had to look for the term buttocks for a particular reason. And boy, oh boy, don't search that.
Wow.
We're gonna skip those parts when they come up. So yeah, it's a bit dirtier than I thought. I tended to, just sort of breeze over those. I assume we're not going to dwell on those. I assume we're going to skip future ones because it is very unseemly for two men to get together on the phone and record their discussions of dirty books.
You mostly don't want your voice to be able to be isolated and pieced together like in someone like a voicemail that someone can then claim that you left them on their phone, like Pat O'Brien.
Right. Yeah, the deep fake with my voice is is not something I'm.
Yeah, but I think that just in general, the richness of the characters and the prose make up for all of that. That's been my main takeaway from these first 78 pages. I just really feel attached to the characters, and sort of wish I could hang out with them more, because they're nice people who do nice people things, and you want to inhabit the world, like how people would say that about Harry Potter when they were done reading it. Like, I wish I lived there, and yeah, I wish I lived on the gloomy banks of the Thames. And this guy's spacious.
Is it gloomy? He hasn't brought that up at all.
All right. Well, we should. A lot of people have indicated that they're not going to read this one along with us. A lot of people seem concerned about their Amazon history, and I would like to tell them to settle down, because one, the Amazon history is not going to be dissuaded by one out of character purchase. Like the algorithm knows more about you than you do. So it's going to detect an outlier, and it's not going to all of a sudden just start shipping you romance novels or sex toys to your house because you bought the Mister. So settle down. Two, it's still weird that people listen to this without reading, but we're gonna try to give you as complete a rundown of everything as we can, since there are a lot of you out there. Three, we're not interested in the weird whatever the think pieces are about E.L. James's gender roles and all that sort of stuff. That nothing could interest me less. We're reading this to have fun, and not to really get too deep into the motivation of who reads this. We're not criticizing anyone who does read this. We're just we're having fun here. So.
Wow, there's a lot of caveats up front there, and and a couple of firm settle downs. You must know something that I am not privy to.
People are like, "Oh, here's a video that might that explores some of the mistakes that people make when criticizing these books, and it's an hour long." And I just don't know what people think about how I spend my free time.
Wow, mistakes in criticism. Okay, we're in too deep already. Yeah, we're not going to go anywhere near that kind of stuff. And as to who reads this and everything, I don't know.
Yeah.
I go ahead, read it. Don't read it. Whatever.
Sure. Yes. I did not take it out in public though, as I challenged everybody to do. So I will. I'll try to do that this week.
Yeah, I got to do that yet too. I read mine on the computer because it's easier to transfer notes over and whatnot. So my books largely remain unread, but I have to take up the challenge. So yeah, I'll go out in public. There's in my building. There's a public area. I'll sit prominently in the lobby and proudly read it, and we'll see what happens.
I think if there's like the Monsters of 70s Rock tour coming to town, I think you should go to like the tailgate and sit on your cooler next to a guy in a pickup truck and read it there. Yeah,
or I'll go to a Twins game or something and hang out in front. Yeah.
Well, let's get started, right?
Yeah, let's.
It starts with a prologue, which is very, very, very brief, but it sort of establishes some action. We have someone fleeing a scene. She runs hard and fast, but doesn't look back. Fear drives her forward as she dodges a few late-night shoppers in her quest to flee. Luck is with her. The automatic doors are open. She flies under the gaudy holiday decorations and through the entrance into the parking lot. And I was my first hope was that this was like a Santa's elf who had taken off, who had gotten sick of posing with kids sitting on Santa's lap and was finally just making a run for it.
Yeah, and I had assumed that had been disciplined by the Santa with the plastic bag over the head. That was the choking dark and the plastic bag.
Bad Santa 3.
Yeah. But a stylistic thing is established here.
Oh, yeah.
And that is, and established hard, is the very brief sentences. And I call them, I finally settled on it, the italicized parenthetical.
Okay.
Where there's sort of a running, the thoughts of the person, and then they parenthetically talk to themselves in places in this book.
Yes, that happens a lot.
And it's not in parentheses, but the thoughts are parenthetical and they are italicized. And so you get a lot of sentences like, go, 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 run, run, now, go.
Yes.
Each of those are period hard stops on all of those.
Yeah, in this first page and a half prologue, we got no, 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 free, 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 run, 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 cold, cold, too cold, walk, it's all she can do, walk, walk, walk. And I thought it was like someone who was doing NaNoWriMo and was trying to reach their word count total, without having anything actual to say. Like, pad that word count. Pad.
I think the carriage returns are a testament to that as well.
Right, getting the pages
This
there.
is like it almost reads like an email in a way, where someone sends you an email and they, instead of, so you don't get depressed by looking at a block of text, they just, every line is a new paragraph. And this she uses that to the extreme here.
Absolutely. But yeah, I imagine that most people, your average E.L. James reader was, 3 paragraphs in, 3 real paragraphs, not these fake ones, before they were just like, get to the boning. Because this is someone who's just, she sort of flees this store and is headed towards somewhere. She's got a map in her shoe or something. So, and I don't think we need to disguise the fact this is our female protagonist, Alicia.
Yes.
Who's fleeing this scene. We are yet to be informed as to what has happened to her, because the next time we see her, she's cleaning someone's apartment.
She is, at times she stops, she builds little nests for herself and sleeps where it is cold, so cold, tired, dirty. But then she drinks water from the sink at the McDonald's.
Sure, we've all been there.
The food smells enticing, which I think that would be the first time that anyone described the smell of McDonald's food as enticing.
Right. That should really, that's sort of a calibrate your tastes for what she finds enticing throughout the rest of the book, really.
Yeah. I mean, she's hungry. And McDonald's has its own particular smell.
Absolutely.
It's not, they do it on purpose. It smells good, I guess, but...
Right.
I guess enticing is one way to put it, so I appreciated
that. Well, yeah. So it's a brief introduction, I think, and unless you have anything else, we can go to chapter 1, which starts with a bang.
Yes, it does. Let's move on. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's a first sentence to rival the best in all of literature. Mindless sex. There's a lot to be said for it. So that's just EL playing her audience like a fiddle, just sort of conducting that symphony. Just no sex or any hint of it in the first prologue, and then bam, first sentence of chapter 1.
Yeah, the typical reader, like you said, I'm sure they got to this and they went, oh, okay, finally.
Yeah.
I had to wade through 300 words until I got to this. Don't waste my time.
Yeah, and she doesn't. Because it begins with our main character is in bed, and he's already just getting felt up by a woman who I think he's already slept with, and she's hungry for more.
Yes.
He says this is something that we both noted before we even started reading. A manicured fingernail skims down my stomach and over my abdominal muscles, then circles my navel. I sense her sleepy smile as her fingers slip toward my pubic hair.
Yep, out of the gate.
What stood out to me with that was the toward. Is that really where they're headed toward? Like, I assume that's not their final destination. Like, if you were driving to Vegas from LA, you would not be thinking, I'm headed toward Barstow. Like, that's sort of just it's a place you stop for gas and jerky along the way before you actually get to where you're headed.
My first sentence, it seems like it should be a sentence, and I get why it's a sentence, but then it had me pause and think about it. She was some nameless F who moaned a great deal both in and out of bed. I thought, that sounds okay.
Sure.
But then I thought, what was the out of bed moaning about? Right. And who is this person? She's
doing the crossword as she's doing that.
Yeah.
Maybe she's the girl who lived in the toilet in Harry Potter, moaning Myrtle.
Oh, yeah, it could be. But yeah, she seemed like a very unpleasant woman once you actually think about it.
Sure, yeah, that would not be someone, or one of those goats that yells at you type of thing. But this person he's in bed with is Caroline. This is Caroline, for heaven's sakes, my best friend and my brother's wife. Well, ex-wife. So he's sleeping with his brother's ex-wife, and we learn, of course, that this is because his brother has died 2 days ago. But that
was a spit take for me.
First of many, I'm sure. But what I thought immediately, and I'm sure your mind went here as well, is that she's sort of might have been inspired by the lengthy sketch on Adam Sandler's second comedy CD, The Goat.
No, I'm not familiar with it.
No, well, I got a clip of it right here.
Apparently, he found out some bad news that his ex-wife was fucking his brother or something like that, and he went off the fucking deep end, man. Just fucking first time he used fists.
So yeah, the goat is being beaten by the old man with the hickory stick because he also found out that his ex-wife was sleeping with his brother. So it's you can see how this is going to be a theme that runs deep in this book.
It was the description of how that information was meted out to us struck me as like a bad gag, like a sitcom gag. This is Carolyn, for heaven's sake, my best friend and my brother's wife. Ex-wife.
Yeah.
No, ex-wife. His widow.
Yes.
Who I killed. Accidentally. Well, not accidentally in that I wanted her to die, but it was an accident that she suffered so much. Anyway, the point is...
Right, yes.
It just keeps going on.
Right, he's stammering like Woody Allen as he's this, absolute super rich mega hunk.
Also in this section, appreciated the, as he's talking about all the boning and whatnot, closing my eyes, I try to silence the still small voice, which some people might recognize that as a very distinct reference to 1 Kings in the Bible. That's the section about the prophet Elijah. So I appreciated that. Thank you for putting that in this dirty book.
All right, so we've got one for Connor in the Adam Sandler the Goat column, and one for Mike in the 1 Kings section of the Bible column, for those of you keeping track at home. I've got, I liked her saying, "Oh, Maxim, please make me forget." That rung a bell because that's what I would say when I would read Maxim magazine on the toilet in college. It's going to be a hard thing for me to ignore if you were of a certain age. Maxim was like the magazine that there was like 8 copies of around your shared apartment in college from the stretch of like, I don't know, 2001 through 2006.
Right. I mean, this can't be lost on her British readers, right? Those lad magazines are still very popular over there.
I'm sure, yeah.
I think
yeah.
Maxim is still around, right?
I honestly say I don't know. I'm not stammering because I have a huge stack of them still hidden behind the toilet. I have no idea. I'd be shocked. I mean, that was sort of a pre-internet type of thing too. If you needed to see the latest like WWE wrestler on a cover of something, that was where you would have to go. But
let me raise this question, and I realize I'm opening myself up for criticism here. Is anyone really his brother's wife's best friend?
Yeah.
Is that a situation that you have ever heard of?
Right.
I mean, if it existed before the marriage, doesn't it kind of shift and it's no longer like, hey, buddy, who's your best friend? Oh, it's my brother's wife. I mean,
no, but seriously, who is your best friend?
I mean, when I really just need to talk, I go over to my brother's place and I say, "Excuse me, brother, I need to talk to my best friend here." I mean,
he reveals that they
sort
were
of explained, but
he reveals that he met her at boarding school. They were both 13, and they instantly bonded and started sleeping with each other because they both had divorced parents. Which is something that if it was that easy, I probably would have exaggerated my parents' marital status a bit more in middle school.
Right.
Like that. So that was their bond. And then I think they did one of those things that was like you always see in romantic comedies. Oh, we just realized that after like many sessions of hot sex with each other's attractive person, we realized we were just better off as friends.
Right.
It only happens in that scenario.
That's a typical relationship pattern, of course.
Right. But so, he has an explanation for this. It's been 2 days since his brother died. Well, we got to keep that in mind with everything that is happening going forward. But he says she's hurting, and because I'm hurting too, because I miss him too, he continues to bone his brother's ex-wife and his best friend. Which is another just another weird thing that probably doesn't happen too often in real life.
Yes. Sentence here that struck me. First of all, we get a run from him. And I just thought, wait, are our characters both running away from something?
Wow, nice.
Towards each other? Could that be? I doubt it, but we'll see. I slip on my boots and grab a coat to defend myself from the cold outside. And I thought, okay, I know what the coat is for. Thank you for making that clear. What the hell are the boots about? Why did you put those on?
There's a couple things that come up like that where there's going to be a string of things that do not actually all end in the modifier that happens at the end of them. I think I have a good one coming up.
Okay, good.
But yeah, she left him a note that said, dinner tonight with Daddy and the stepsow. Please come. They are mourning too. And he starts his italicized parenthetical. He just says, fuck. And so I was like, this response I actually understand here. Her inviting him to dinner tonight with Daddy and the stepsow, which would also be a fantastic morning zoo duo. But it starts Daddy and the stepsow coming at you live from Tower Records. We've got Maxim, the intern. He's going to see if he can seduce a grieving widow. If he does it, we'll give him a $20 credit to McDonald's.
He's got to do it while wearing a diaper.
But there are a ton of these throughout the book. It's the first thing that I noticed as a signifier for your fanfics out there. But just the one paragraph fuck and often shit, which I've not yet parsed out what separates those two responses, what warrants one or the other. But I did a Control F and F bombs were very far out the lead, 304 versus only 100 shits. So I think they're his go-to.
Yeah, I would have guessed roughly even, but he must outpace it towards the end of the book.
Yeah.
You get this great sentence here where we learn a little bit about his backstory. Known as Viscount Porthtowan since he was born, Kit had become the 12th Earl of Trevithick. And then it goes on. He'd been friends with Jack Tono Porkins. And, no. I mean, this just sounds like...
Yeah.
Come on. This is slathering on the British bullcrap here.
Right. So he's Maxim Trevelyan, also the Earl of Trevithick. Right? So
Yes.
that's the two. And I don't know what Trevelyan versus Trevithick is, if that's going to be something that we get informed is like a very common thing where you take the first 5 letters of something and add on thick so that could be something. But my main takeaway was just like, I guess, when you live in a city like, New Orleans neighborhoods, they're called wards type of thing. And it's like, oh, that sounds vaguely exotic. Like the streets are named Rue de whatever. And it's like, no, if you live there, it means completely the exact same thing as your neighborhood or borough or whatever. But like, that's gotta be what, ooh, he's a Viscount. It's like, yep, that means he owns a property above like 2.7 acres or something like that.
Right. Yeah. There's going to be a lot of that where we're going to be informed, this is actually very common.
Right.
We're going to get a lot of that.
Yes. He's also revealed that he is a fencer to build his backstory.
Mm-hmm.
That's sort of his spin the wheel exotic characteristic. He likes to fence. It keeps him in shape. We've also heard that how his brother died. Maxim is wondering why the hell was he riding his motorcycle on that bleak and icy night. So we like immediately, if you have functioning brain cells, you think, oh, so foul play, someone murdered him, someone set him up, etc.
I just mostly noted that it was bleak. Because that is a point that is hammered home
right
when he looks out at the Thames. So I believe there's another woman here.
Yeah, the secretary? Or no, the one that he brings home.
He brings home a woman, and he says at some point, she's turned on big time. Big time? So I wrote down, 1989 called. It wants its favorite phrase back. Big time. I really haven't heard that in many years.
Well, if you want another thing that is immediately dates itself in this book, before he brought that woman home, he says, "I want to lose myself in someone else, someone new, someone with no strings attached, and I think I'll score some blow too." I pull out my phone and open Tinder. And so this is another one of those things like, so he's going to score blow through Tinder? This is not something that I was aware that you could do. So I installed Tinder, but it turns out that was it was not the case. But I also wondered, like, does he do this every time he wants it? He seems impossibly rich. and he does just have a Scarface pile of drugs in his room if he's just, you know, doing it on a whim like this. He has to score it every single time. His dealer isn't just like, dude, I sell more than, you know, than a eighth of a gram of this stuff at a time. There's a discount if you buy it in bulk. You can please take it home and.
You have bottomless wealth. Also, why are you going on Tinder when you're a model?
Right.
You're famous. Everybody knows you're rich, and you're royalty. I don't understand. You're really slumming it here, dude.
And I think Tinder did have that reputation in 2013 as being like, this is where you're going to go if you just want some casual sex. I think it's pretty much just a very generic dating app now that you just use to find someone to go have coffee with.
Right. Well, we get a really long sex scene. I assume we're not going to dwell on this. But,
Sure.
But I did note that, so this woman, who I believe her name is Heather, she lives in Putney, period. She's hot. I just thought, yeah, the previous 1,000 words describing her breasts made that pretty clear. Why are we getting at this point? We are deep into the description of this woman, and then just the sentence, she's hot.
I liked her. She tastes of brandy with a faint hint of cigarettes. The taste is distracting. I don't remember seeing her smoke at the club. And I added in, yeah, but there was no time for smoking while she was eating that entire pack of cigarettes. So it's very confusing to me what the... but she, there's a couple things. We don't need to dwell on it, but I just, one of them comes up more than once. But this is two descriptions he has of his arousal. She runs her tongue over her top teeth and my body responds, my groin tightening. So I was like, "These a romance novel or the Cubs beat reporter stating why the starting third baseman is going to be sitting it out tonight." His groin tightened up on him.
Yeah, in tennis, you'd call the trainer. We got a break between the sets here. His groin tightened.
And then this one, this one's a little dirty, but there's nothing to do, and it happens more than once. And I have a funny analogy for it, so I'm just going to hit you with it. She has a talented mouth that knows exactly how to revive a spent man. My cock stirs at the memory, and I can contemplate waking her up for more. So this happens more than once. It keeps stirring every time he sees something, and so I just imagine it like a Flintstones animal who's just like, oh, all right, you gotta get to work. It's a living, I guess.
Oh dear! Wow, we're discussing it.
But yeah, so he sort of he hears that Caroline is texting him in the morning, wondering where she is. She gets upset because Kit has bequeathed everything to him and nothing to her, which is going to be a plot point going forward. But as she's getting these messages, Heather is still there, and she sort of is enlisted to play the role of clumsy character developer, because she just sort of like walks around his room pointing out all the things in it and letting him sort of let you know more about who he is. You play? She walks over to the baby grand. And all that, she points to my decks and the iMac on a desk in the corner of the room. I DJ. And the photography? She waves a hand at the black and white landscapes that hang on large canvases in the drawing room. Yes, and occasionally on the other side of the camera, she looks confused. Modeling, editorial mainly. So we really, she does a great job of letting the audience in on all this stuff.
Yeah, she's, what do you call it? She's just an exposition bot, a non-playing character.
Right. A hot exposition bot.
Oh, is she hot? Oh, she's hot. Yeah, there, it says it right there.
Right. But she sort of, he says, like, I'll call you. She says, you won't. But then she says, I hope you find what you're looking for. And he says, for some unknown reason, her words irritate me. It's like, well, unknown? Like, maybe because they were cutting and rude, like, to leave on that such a note? Like, there's no ambiguity here. She insulted you as she left.
Here's a nice taste of the prose, the sort of ups and downs of the prose you get here. I've just inherited a vast estate in Cornwall, an estate in Oxfordshire, another in Northumberland, and a small portion of London. But at what cost? Kit's pale, lifeless face surfaces in my imagination. Shit. So,
the first sentence was
quite a roller coaster ride there.
Was one of my DSOs. I've inherited all this property, but at what cost? What? Come on, man. Like, it's the same thing with that thing. She just pointed out all these things and says, I hope you find what you're looking for. And he's like, I'm doing a lot of cool stuff, actually. I'm modeling, shooting models, DJing at packed clubs. Like, what on earth do you think that I'm lacking here?
I'm fencing. I'm taking care of the six pack. What? Yeah. What's the problem?
Summited Everest with Jimmy Chin. We shot a documentary of it. But yeah, sure. I'm looking for something. Sorry, hot woman who I just had casual sex with.
Yeah. Next time you address me, my lord is proper. So I'm doing fine.
So yeah, but it's a fitting introduction to our Mister here. But in chapter 2, we're going to meet the person from the prologue. This is
yes, indeed.
Alacia.
I don't know. I'm switching up pronunciations in my head. Alicia.
Okay. Alicia, sure. But yeah, so we get the first thing that you might notice, and it definitely plays out throughout the book, is that we get Maxim's first person, and Alessia is narrated as a third person character, which is a no small feat in the writing department. It requires a deft hand to pull it off. So we'll see if EL is up to it as we go forward.
See if she can sustain it all the way through. She talks up front about how she wished she could. I think is she riding the bus or something?
Yeah, she's riding either the bus or the subway, and everyone is busy and looking at their phones.
She wished she could listen to music through headphones and not this woman's loud whining. And I thought, is this the woman he had slept with earlier? She's moaning and whining. So she makes a stealth reappearance.
Yeah. I think it might have been. Yeah, it might have been supposed to be the she has an unsuccessful date the night before, so it could be the hot Heather. But she's these two things took me by surprise, and they are not the first Ready Player One similarities we're going to get. But Alessia digs her hands farther into the pockets of Michael's old anorak in a vain attempt to warm her cold fingers. You will remember that James Halliday's avatar was Anorak. Anorak's invitation was what he sent out to let people know about his egg. And
that is, you foreshadowed, and I don't think you hit it hard enough. There is a very, very strong similarity coming up that is unmistakable.
Is it this
Shockingly so.
There, she dumps her shopping bag on the counter. Out of it, she pulls the ill-fitting nylon housecoat that Christina bequeathed her.
Yeah, I have a picture of a housecoat in my mind. I have a feeling it might be different in the UK. What is your take on what a UK nylon housecoat looks like?
It's very hard for me to envision this. Just like the sort of, I don't know, like the... I'm imagining like the woman who would oversee Madeline in those children's books, just like this sort of like shapeless thing that tapers down to like what the mayor wore in Nightmare Before Christmas. I have no idea. I didn't look it up.
I'm thinking of, in my own head, of the, like the Gladys Kravitz nosy neighbor with curlers in her hair.
Okay.
and maybe smoking or whatever, and just a shapeless quilted jacket.
Sure.
Yeah, but I don't know what the nylon part of it. I don't know what it means. Anyway.
Yeah, but she wears that, and then she like does her hair up in some sort of like shawl type of thing, a babushka or something like that. So she's right off the bat is wearing like the most shapeless, frumpiest thing you could possibly imagine. So
except we learn later that it's see-through,
right?
So I couldn't
taut.
square that circle, but I don't know.
Right, but it just probably goes to show how horny the guy is, or how she's unknowingly beautiful she is. So she's pretty much being set up to do the she's all that, like shake her hair down and take off her glasses kind of thing, to reveal that she was insanely hot all along.
Yeah, there's a lot of her shuffling around and looking away and demurring and being shy and biting her upper lip and she might as well be kicking the ground with a toe and I mean it's just it is
chewing on a strand of hair. Yeah. Yes. But yeah, so we're not exaggerating. This gets it gets laid out very, very quickly for us because she enters his house. She's like her other cleaner went back to whatever Stregonona country that she was from, but then so Alicia has taken over. But she like walks into his room where he is still there, and she stands shocked and fascinated at once. Her feet rooted to the wooden floor as she stares. He's stretched across the length of the bed, tangled in the duvet, but naked. Very naked. Not a little naked.
I thought that was a binary state.
Yes, exactly. I mean, does it mean like, full cheek spread and like anus visibility? Like, what are we talking about here? Like, is he...
It's Tom Waits' women without skin thing, like extra nude or whatever.
Right. So there was another one of those later where there's like you said, there's a binary, but it emphasizes how binary it can get. But so she's as taken aback as you would be if you walked in on like a murder scene happening by this, because she's so innocent. But the other thing that gets established is her longing to play the piano. She glances at the piano, feeling cheated. Today was the day she was going to play. She didn't have the nerve on Monday, and she longs to play. Today would have been the first time. We get it. In her head, she hears Bach's Prelude in C minor. And so I waited to ask you, I didn't look it up, but is this just like classical music for idiots, like the first piece anyone would ever recognize?
It's pretty recognizable. She later plays one... I think the first thing that she plays, I did not know that piece, and it is somewhat obscure. This one is very well known, of course.
Okay. Well, we know how that works, though. If you want to make a joke, you look up something, and you don't need to know what the name of the female bear in the country jamboree was. You can look that up, and you can make that joke without having the actual knowledge of it. So,
right. I want to back up a little bit. When she first sees him, she says, "He's here, the man." It's like, yeah, we haven't settled on that title yet. Okay, we got to reinforce that later. But then her reaction to seeing his taut backside, and then there's just a sentence, backside. He's naked. Lakurik. Zot. So the zots come fast and furious coming up, but that has a certain appeal to me. Zot.
Yeah, I like Zot. Zot is good. Kneel before Zot.
Yes.
Is that as wow, do you think?
I did not look it up.
No.
I don't know. There's a variation on it coming up. Shakir Zotit. So that must be a variant of Zot. Zotit.
Yeah. Well, it's Albanian, because we learned she drops a reference to the Drin River, which is more beautiful than the gloomy Thames. So we do know that she's Albania, and I have very little or no knowledge about Albania. There was an early Simpsons episode where they take in an exchange student from Albania who then spies on them, and that is the extent of what I know about them.
I had a friend in high school who was first generation Albanian, so that my entire knowledge of Albania is shaped by this dumbass from high school. So that's all I got for you.
All Albanians are dumbasses, says Mike.
Well, there is a certain subset that is 100% of the people that I know. Here's a sentence that made me think. I mean, it's not a spectacular example of it, but he's awake! ! And just as a writer, I sometimes think about, what if I sold out and tried to write a sentence like that? Mm-hmm. And it just seems hard to imagine. But you got to admire the chutzpah of this lady who just writes countless sentences like that and just, spreads them across the page so that they fill out a page and just has and sells 8 billion copies of it. But he's awake! ! Ugh. Anyway.
Well, one of those books we were considering, I think it was called... I don't remember what it was called, but it had had a dragon on the cover. But the main thing that was intriguing about it was the overuse of exclamation marks.
Right.
But that was a garbage, self-published fantasy novel, not a million seller like this.
But yeah, so also we have the third person thing that you brought up. So he's awake! Exclamation point is just that's our omniscient narrator there.
Sure.
Suddenly
True.
being excited by
That makes it even worse.
Yeah.
But she is excited because it is revealed he is the first naked man she's ever seen. So I wrote, here we go, because it's going to be, just 100% the demure, person that gets swept up into this guy's this playboy's web of sex and everything like that, and it's just it sets the table for the hair coming down right away.
Yeah, and descriptions of him, she is just overcome by his handsomeness. I mean, this guy, I'm trying to think of an analog, just like, Brad Pitt, Ryan Reynolds, you know, the best features of every handsome person you have ever seen, because she's just struck. It's not like there are no flaws anywhere. It's not like, despite having a slightly large nose and,
right.
I remember reading a description once of George Washington. It's like, a bulbous head and long legs that swung in a strange gait as his hips swiveled and his ungainly backside. And yet he was strikingly handsome.
Right, sure.
He just described a hideous monster. And he's handsome, but he has no flaws whatsoever.
Right, which is what my takeaway is that's what the guy was like in 50 Shades of Grey too, right? He was just, like you said, any given sexiest man alive.
Yeah, green eyes, and she describes him as if you're missing it. She says repeatedly, he's handsome.
This was
really handsome.
Yes, this was he's handsome, all of him. His hair, his hands, his legs, his backside, really handsome. So I was like, really? His butt is handsome?
Does it really nude butt is handsome?
Is it just flashing a Tom Cruise grin on the red carpet? Is it that one struck me?
Oh man, well, so she stares at him for a while, but then she has to
get to work
to get back to work, and so she goes through the pockets of his black jeans and pulls out the loose change and the customary condom that he seems to carry in all his pants. Now she's just started, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know how she has knowledge that he customarily carries condoms in his pants.
Huh.
But
yeah, I guess
anyway,
not lacking object permanence, she might just, I guess, make that assumption if she's seen it there twice. Like, this must be here all the time.
Keep in mind, she is still dazzled by his handsome ass, so it's tough for her to think clearly at this point. But anyway, that got me thinking about this again. This super handsome model, playboy, fencer, billionaire, lord, landowner.
Viscount.
Gentleman, man about town, walking around carrying condoms everywhere. Got me thinking about that. So I did a deep dive into the dark web.
Oh,
not surprisingly, there are people who expand the universe of the Mister already. Yeah.
Wow, in 3 weeks. Well, the dark web is they call it that for a reason. It's because that's where you got to take some of this filthier stuff.
Yeah. Well, anyway, it was not easy going wading through that, as you can imagine.
You used Tor, the private browser, and
obviously, yes,
DuckDuckGo, and all that stuff.
Of course, yes. And I was able to pull out a little, a bit of universe building here, and
okay.
I think it's pretty self-explanatory. We learn a little bit more about our hero, the Mister. Let's listen to that right now.
All right.
Lord Treverick, may I present Prince Regent Peter Voskevich of Serbia. It is a pleasure to meet you in person, your lordship.
Please, call me Maxim. Whoops, my condom.
Yes.
My condom fell out of my pocket right there.
I see.
Probably gonna need that later, if you know what I mean.
Well,
For sex?
Yes. Now, regarding our agreement, the tariffs recently imposed by the EU Agricultural Bureau...
What's her name, you ask?
No, I did not...
I mean, a gentleman really shouldn't, but she is a model. Yeah, like for bras and underpants and stuff. It's no big deal, but...
May I proceed?
I mean, you wouldn't know her. She does most of her stuff in France or whatever, so she's on the side of a lot of metro cars and junk. It gets pretty boring.
As I was saying, the terms of our agreement will have to reflect the recent tariffs as they update. Why are you taking your shirt off?
Oh, what? The abs? Kind of distracting, aren't they? Yeah. Well, do you want to work out?
Your lordship, please. Within a week, I hope to have signed an agreement worth hundreds of millions of euros. And here you are dropping condoms and disrobing. Though, now that I look more closely, I notice how distracting is your sun-kissed back and the 2 dimples above your pale, taut backside. Yes, let's work out.
Sweet, brah.
So there you go. Yeah, he's loud and proud about carrying those condoms around.
Yeah, loud and proud. Also loud and proud. The dignitary he was interacting with. He was
Yes.
That guy was just sort of forging ahead, regardless of whether he was comfortable with his accent or where he was coming from, or whether that was deeply offensive or not.
Right.
There was a guy. I don't need to. Let's just say that this happened to someone I knew, where they were at someone's house, and he was like, put on a new record or something like that, and in a position where you would never expect to see a Costco-sized box of not just Trojans but Magnum Trojans. They were there just in case you happen to walk by and want to be flipping the record over, and that was something that I always noted as just sort of as a power move on his part.
That is bold. It's like I said when I was young, I would carry around books that were way above my station to try to impress. I don't know who I was trying to impress, but I never thought of carrying around a box of Magnums. I should have done that.
But she later on is going to empty his trash, and she says she tries to avoid looking at the used condoms as she dumps the contents into a black plastic trash bag. It was a shock the first time she did this, and it's still a shock now. How can one man use so many? And I realized that Andy Rooney's Daily was probably wondering the same thing back in the day.
Oh dear. But again, she just started, so I don't know. Maybe
yeah,
she
was there like learning the ropes with the other person like 1 or 2 days, I think it says.
Oh, okay, all right. So a pattern has been established. Fair enough. She goes to the piano, and it is described as, this is a full sentence: the Steinway is black and shiny. Boy, this EL, she really paints a picture, doesn't she?
Yeah, well, I would have assumed the piano was a neon green. I mean, I've seen a lot of pianos like that, and it just as common as a black one. So
to be fair, it could have been covered in like mirror ball mirrors, So maybe he's sort of a Liberace style pianist. We don't know yet.
He could have taken Elton John's Donald Duck costume one step further and put the piano in a Donald Duck costume.
Right.
So the piano is well established. She wants to play this piano, but the other thing that is here, we'll point this out for everyone who's not reading the book. But there is she cleans the whole apartment, but avoids the one room she's not allowed to enter. Fleetingly, she wonders what's behind the closed door, but she doesn't try to open it. Christina was very clear that room is off limits.
The intrigue.
So it's either the brother murdering room, or it's going to be the kind of thing where it's like it's set up as the bad thing, but then it turns out to be a perfectly normal place that he is gentle in informing her why she wasn't supposed to go in there later on in the book.
I hope it's something like a Sherlock Holmes thing, like it's a deformed cousin chained to the wall. But here's a great sentence I'd like to try variations of. And then there's the wall of old records that she has to dust. He's certainly an avid music collector. So here's my variations on that. One by one, she puts away the 12 hams he's ordered her to buy. This guy sure likes ham. And just one more. She opens another drawer. It too is filled with bars of solid gold, and another drawer packed to the top with diamonds. This guy sure seems to have a lot of money. So just trying to make that clear that She's an avid music collector.
Right. But yeah, since she's from Albania, she's probably never heard of a DJ, so she would not make the assumption that he was a DJ versus a music collector. So that could explain that as well.
Yeah. And again, that's our third-person narrator making that clear to us, that he certainly seems to be an avid music collector.
What an odd choice.
Yeah.
So she cleans, I guess, and is upset she can't play the piano. But then Maxim eventually leaves and goes to see Caroline again, who he calls Caro, like Caro syrup, like you make a pecan pie with.
Yes, as my father, who lived in the place where they called a pecan pie a Caro nut pie.
Wow.
Yeah, I like that variation on it. To emphasize the what is 97% of the pie, which is Caro corn syrup.
I learned that like last Thanksgiving. I think I was looking up a recipe or something, because that's been my sister's favorite pie for all time, and she makes it for Thanksgiving. And I learned that. I was like, that's just like, what other situation would you be eating Caro syrup in?
Yeah, it's just it's thickened Caro syrup with a couple nuts on it to dress it up.
Delightful. Thanksgiving classic. But so yeah, he goes to talk to her, and she says his excuse for, I've had a lot to think about and I've been busy. Many scenes in this echo the dialogue from The Room. That is very Mark-esque for why he can't go see Lisa. There's someone on Twitter said us like, the only fan fiction prompt you need to ask people is, so how's your sex life? So this is not something that has been lost on our listeners as well.
Right. We get a description of her shyness here in a sentence that amused me. Her lips form a pout. I just thought I would have been alarmed if her ears had formed a pout. And
right.
It's kind of, we understand.
Right. You get another one though. You asked me to control F lips, and there was like 300 of them or 240 or something like that.
It is a very lip-based book. Everyone is always doing something with their lips, to them, biting them, licking them, and then other people notice, which I guess if it's prominent in someone's behavior where they're like a lizard and they're just constantly licking their lips, I would make note of that. But otherwise, what people's lips do don't really stand out to me. I mean, they're kind of just part of the whole for me.
Sure. Yeah, unless there's something extremely off-putting and abnormal about them, it's not something that comes to mind. However, when he's talking to Caro, I'm just going to insert. If I were the editor, I would insert these things. She says, "You busy, Maxim? You wouldn't know busy if you tripped and stuck your dick in it," said the grieving widow. And then he is non-deterred, but he says, "I shrug as an image of Heather's lips around my cock comes to mind." And then, well, we should probably get to the board meeting of the landmine charity that my brother oversees to discuss how to proceed with their endowment in light of his death, not 72 hours ago, because those children who are missing limbs are going to need the money for their surgeries, and he was always very, very up front on that. It was a big priority of his, so we want to make sure that continues on in his death, which, to reemphasize, took place not 72 hours ago.
That's right. I noted something when he was in the office, like he's getting the tension here is he's getting his titles, and he's, his brother's titles and all of his land and whatever. And so there's the occasional very brief meeting with, people in bespoke suits, I'm assuming. And he points out, this is a nice bit that we get about him. He's offered a biscuit and he picks out his favorite, which is a plain chocolate digestive.
Yes.
Boy, that's my favorite biscuit too. A plain chocolate digestive.
It's like Ned Flanders.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I did note that, and I was just like, there was just so much that I was jotting down but it was like, really, like you have a favorite cookie? 30-year-old Playboy DJ. All right, noted. But I thought this was good too. He's sort of bewitched by he woke up and looked right at her when Alicia was looking at him, but he guess I was still half asleep. But he thinks he had a dream. A young woman, an angel, possibly the Virgin Mary or a nun in blue, standing in my bedroom doorway watching over me as I slept. What the hell does that mean? I'm not religious. You don't say. Guy who was trying to get blow from Tinder and was just thinking about what Heather was able to do to him. But then, so when he's talking to Caro, this is another very similar to The Room. I shake my head. Nothing, I murmur, taking the cup of coffee she offers and giving her back her handkerchief. Then she says, "Well, I might be pregnant." So we literally had the, let me just take a big sip of coffee and
Yes.
What's your next sentence going to be?
Oh, I was very disappointed that the spit take wasn't written in there. It's in that little, she does 4 carriage returns. So there's a spit take in there, but why not just write it out?
Right. But then, so he's like puzzling about if she is pregnant, whether how that will affect his countship or whatever. And he sort of lapses into Chandler from Friends. Could this be any more complicated? Could this be any more confusing?
Oh, she just does it. She writes it and she moves on.
Right.
She hits, she hits Ibid when the editor circles it. She's like, nope, that stays in. How dare you?
2 of those back to back. Well, yeah. So we move on, I guess, to chapter 3. None of these chapters really advance anything. They just sort of like set the stage for a different romantic encounter, it seems. But chapter 3 begins with finally, something for us fellas who are reading the book to relate to. His fencing buddy gives him a call and gives him crap for not going fencing with him.
Yeah, he seems like a real, this is just like a bloke that he fences with.
Yeah.
Hey, man, let's go fence. My épée is getting rusty, dude.
Yes. Which, it's like, can't reemphasize enough. His brother died 3 days ago, and this guy is calling him up. So I was hoping this was going to turn into be like the James Winstock character of the horny friend who's like, so, Heather, how'd that go? Like in his bathrobe. But we did, I forget what the guy's name, but we don't really get a lot of him here. He just is, he's there to remind us that this guy goes fencing.
This guy spent his money on a hot Ferrari.
But then we meet another great character, and this is Oliver, who I guess is his brother's business manager. But more than his business manager, Oliver is slight, with a shock of unruly blonde hair and eyes of an indeterminate color that miss nothing. And this is how men often describe other men they have professional relationships with. His shock of hair, and it sort of lapses not into just his eye color, which is indeterminate, but his eyes that miss nothing. It's just something I think about when I visit my accountant.
Right. Also, does he write that on his official documents like eyes, weight, height? My eyes are indeterminate.
Yeah.
Okay. No further questions.
Weight varies depending on what kind of weekend I had.
Yeah. He goes to a place called Lulu's.
Yes, this is where he's horny again, so he goes out to a bar. Right.
Lulu seems to figure into this big. I didn't look it up. Is that a real place? Because it seems like a lot of the places are.
Real. He goes to a bar later, and she orders a very specific sounding drink, and he says, "Good choice." So maybe they kickstarted the book or something.
But the woman that he gets on, she has pretty hazel eyes.
Oh, huh.
So he can peg her eye color. What the hell's wrong with you with this Oliver character?
It's like
some kind of wizard or something. He's deflecting your gaze.
It's like that car paint that James Bond used in that one movie where it makes the car look invisible because it reflects, exactly what's behind it or some nonsense. Right before he went to Lulu's, though, he took a call from his modeling agent and said that he wasn't accepting any more work for the time being because he's going to be so busy at work. But he says regarding modeling, would I miss it? I wasn't sure. Modeling could be mind-numbingly boring, but after I was sent down from Oxford, the work had gotten me out of bed and given me an excuse to stay in shape. I also got to meet hot, skinny women, which, few, because as we all know, that is a typical problem for attractive rich guys.
Right.
They usually have to resort to international modeling in order to attract their fair share of babes.
There's a very, very long explicit sex scene in this chapter that I didn't dwell on. I hope to God you didn't as well. But I do have, I had a rush of hope here with a very Thrashian sentence. And I won't read the whole thing, but I think you'll get,
wow. Yeah.
I think you'll get it pretty quick. I have spent the last day and a half in tedious meetings with the 2 fund managers who oversee the considerable Trevethick investment portfolio and the charitable trust, the estate managers from Cornwall, Oxfordshire, and Northumberland, the managing agent who handles the London properties, and with the developer who's remodeling the 3 mansion blocks in Mayfair, Oliver Macmillan, Kit's chief operating officer and right-hand man. We're getting his team.
Yeah, that's amazing.
We're getting a Thrashian team.
Specific locations, specific
I was
titles.
so excited, but then quickly we get into smeared lipstick horror of a woman who he has rough sex with.
Is the title like CPA and FCPA? Are those like just American designations? Do those translate internationally? Maybe that's why he didn't specify.
Yeah, that's probably it. Yeah, people in the UK are filling in the blanks with the CPA titles and stuff.
Well, yeah, he brings this woman back home, and her notable characteristic was she keeps scratching him with her fingernails, which he describes as talons. So what he does is she also says, I love your posh accent, which is the first real time we've heard that. And I guess you could assume, but it was the first time I realized we're supposed to be hearing him as like a Hugh Grant type.
Yeah, I had Hugh Grant from the beginning. Yes.
Okay. All right. So that's that sort of casts a different tone for me over everything, because I'm imagining him as pretty much like Christian Bale in American Psycho for the most part. But then so she keeps scratching him, so he pulls out a silk big silk ribbon and a pair of handcuffs and sort of lets her pick what she wants. And to me this was like E.L. James given the audience like what they paid to see. It's like like we've talked about on another podcast, the fog hat hitting those first like chords of Slow Ride, like in the audience, they all of a sudden know this is why they're there. So it's the playing the hits, and he ties her up. They get busy, and you can read it if you want to. We don't need to talk about it, but it does set the stage for a very amusing scene in the next chapter. After he ties her up and bangs her.
Will you spank me is the sentence you're getting towards. That's where the crowd erupts.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, that's when they finally acknowledge that they are going to take a slow ride. That's when Mark Cohen is going, should I go walking in Palo Alto? No,
why are you even saying that?
Should I go walking in Milwaukee? Yeah. So yeah, it's good. That's what give the people what they paid for. But we go to chapter 4, which is let's before we go to chapter 4, let's
hit me with it.
Okay.
As
always,
as you know, I'm not. We're 80 pages in or whatever, so I haven't fully grasped the intricacies of the Jamesaverse, but I'll give it my best shot.
Yeah, you haven't trained your neural network on her quirks and ticks and everything like that. But as always, we have 5 passages, and Mike is going to guess whether they are actual passages from later in the book or whether they are fanfic that our listeners have sent to us. Number 1, and you're going to guess after each one. Number 1. She turns it over in her hands, a nervous excitement overwhelming her. The rose gold iPhone with the plastic cover still over the screen is slim, cold, and weighty. She looks at the back and her heart skips a beat. There's an engraving. For Alessia, my muse. Her face burns. She musters the courage to glance up at him. He watches her expectantly, his brilliant green eyes searching for her approval. How could she accept this? Look, he says suddenly, taking it gently from her hands. He powers the phone up and opens an app, then hands it back. It's a playlist of songs. Classical music. Bach, Beethoven, Chopin. She remains silent. She couldn't have found the words to say how she felt, let alone translate them into English. She fights hard against the tears welling in her eyes.
Oh, boy. I think that's real.
Okay. The iPod gifting. Real. Next, number 2. Inscribed across his biceps is a black shield bearing the image of an ivory 2-headed eagle hovering over the 5 yellow circles that are in the shape of an inverted V. Alicia places her clothes on the footstool at the end of the bed and raises her hand to touch his arm, glancing at Maxim for permission. I hold my breath as she traces the outlines of my tattoo, her fingers skirting across my skin, her light touch echoing through my body toward my groin, and I suppress a groan. This is the symbol for my country, she whispers. The two-headed eagle is on the Albanian flag. What are the odds?
Wow, I think that's fanfic.
Okay.
I hit it. A couple of those notes there were pretty good.
Number 3. When he squeezes her little toe, all her muscles clench deep inside her. She gasps, and he raises her foot, and with a wicked smile kisses her big toe. Now the other one, he orders in a soft voice. This time she doesn't hesitate. His fingers work their magic once more, and by the time he's finished, her entire body has turned to liquid. He kisses each toe in turn, except the smallest, which he puts into his mouth and sucks. Hard. Ah! Her belly flutters.
Oh, I don't know. That's real.
Okay. Here's number 4. Why didn't the alarm go off? Did I set it? Shit. I left in such a rush, I don't know. Maxim. He's surprised to hear from me. Everything okay? Good morning. My neighbor's just called me. She says I've been burgled. Oh, shit. Precisely. I'll get there right away. Shouldn't take me more than 15 minutes at this time. Great. I'll ring you back in about 20. I hang up. My mood has nosedived, and I start to think about what I'd really miss if it was taken. My cameras, my decks, my computer. Shit. My father's cameras. What a fucking pain in the arse this is. Some fucking low-life addict or maybe some feral teenage kids wrecking my place. Fuck a duck.
well, I'm going to say fanfic.
Okay. And then number 5. The lighting coordinators leave, and I plug the last cable he gave me into my MacBook. But I'm distracted. My eyes search the crowd, looking for Alessia. Fuck. Why am I so nervous? I've done this club a dozen times. They fucking love me. A moment later, she enters through the side door wearing the outfit I laid out for her. A short red bodycon dress, simple but elegant, draws the eyes of all the men on the floor as Alicia meekly sidles up to a cocktail table. I wish she was up front, shaking those curvy tits in my face. As she innocently bats her long lashes at me, some guys in the audience grumble. Shit. Better get started. Yo, Ministry of Sound, this is DJ Max Attack, and I'm dedicating this set to my blue-eyed Virgin Mary in the crowd. Peace. I hit play and bring the house down with my newest banger.
It's entertaining fanfic.
Okay. All right. I think you got 2 out of 5. First one, the iPhone was Elena. That's fanfic.
Wow.
Number 2, the tattoo, which we hadn't touched on, but there is the very alluded to tattoo that you don't get a description of. That one was real. Evidently,
Wow.
It's going to turn out that he has the Albanian flag symbol on his body in some sort of insane coincidence, which he points out with, "What are the odds?"
Oh boy.
Number 3, I think you said was fanfic. The toe sucking.
I think I said that was real.
Real, okay. That was real, and that was. This is something to keep an eye out for because I noticed it a couple times as I was looking for fanfics. Her belly fluttering, I think, is something that's going to come up quite a bit.
Right.
Number 4, you thought was fanfic because he utters the for the second time. I don't think we've gotten to it in this sentence. The Ready Player One-ism, the Cline-ism. Fuck a duck.
Yeah, that comes at the beginning of chapter 4. Shocking coincidence.
So he says that more than once in this book, which amused me to no end. And then number 5, that was Jordan's fanfic. If we don't get a scene of him DJing, I will be very disappointed. Yeah. But I did appreciate DJ Max Attack, and So that was well done. But I guess it was maybe just a little too over the top. But then again, maybe we will get a scene of him DJing.
I would assume we have to, Chekhov's gun. Gotta
True.
have it.
Chekhov's DJ Dick. But yeah, she shows up pretty much in the She's All That outfit. What is the real thing? I keep saying She's All That. What is the highbrow version that they took that plot point from? Is it
that one,
My Fair Lady, Pygmalion?
It could be Pygmalion, or maybe they're just talking about Taming of the Shrew. Is that one? One of them's based on Taming of the Shrew, I think.
Yeah.
The turning the ugly duck into a beautiful princess. I don't know. Take your pick. There's lots of precedents for it.
All right.
Chapter 4.
Well done, everybody. Yeah, chapter 4. So chapter 4 is their first real encounter because she doesn't think that he was asleep when he last saw her and thought she was the Virgin Mary. And this is absolutely stunning.
Zot, the chapter begins, which is a good, bold start. I like that.
Yeah.
We get a description of him, and this is where I stopped. I'm sure you'll have very similar things. A smattering of hair on his chest tapers down over a toned stomach, period. And then I just thought to myself, oh, okay. I think I have a pretty clear picture of the hair on his chest. I have all the information I need. I thank you, and I'll cement that in my mind, and now I'll read on. Then resumes beneath his navel and travels farther down into his jeans. Well, why do we need 2 sentences on the hair on his toned chest and stomach?
Sure. Was the hair handsome though? Were the wisps of it handsome? I'm left to wonder.
Yes, is each individual part taken on its own handsome? Because we know his ass is. So yeah, that is a good point. What other features on their own are handsome?
Yeah, so she's they're sort of like looking at each. He's showing up with his shirt off and doing the sort of lean on one side of the door to show off his tautness. Taut comes up a lot. Firm comes up a lot. Toned comes up a lot. So these
lips come up. His lips again.
Words to keep an eye out for. But so they're pretty much staring at each other as if they were both, stranded on an island and didn't know there was another human there, and they're seeing another human for the first time after 5 years of isolation because they are just unable to function.
This really is like I thought of that same thing. This is the shocking sentence in Robinson Crusoe. There's a great moment where all of a sudden he sees a footprint on the beach, and I mean it really is. It's like the piano chord, like boom, like what? Because you get page after page of description and this is what it is. It's like, I have never seen anything like this. I'm going to stare. My mind is literally boggling. I can't even take it in.
Right.
That there's like a man in front of me with a handsome, unshaven face. I don't even know what to do.
Right. It's like when Lovecraft, the guy, would see the statue of the ancient ones, and he would describe the horror in his mind was so unable to comprehend this that like madness set upon him immediately. It's what this is like too. Her mouth dries, and she doesn't know if it's from nerves or from the look of him. He is so attractive, too attractive. Okay. We've all seen Matthew McConaughey, with his shirt off. We know how this works. Wide eyes, the color of a fine espresso, and framed by the longest lashes I've ever seen. Look up at me, then back at the floor. Shit. One peek from her dark, fathomless eyes, and I'm unsettled. Like, again, we've all seen Jessica Alba like wearing nearly nothing. We understand that people are attractive. And then he goes for it. My whole body tightens in a hot, heavy rush as desire hits me like a demolition ball. Fuck a duck. So I had to look it up. I got the exact phrasing from RP1, and it's I think it was when the guy was offering Wade to work for them in exchange for information. He says, "I think I'd rather find the egg on my own, thanks." I stood up. You and all the other sucksores can all go fuck a duck.
Boy, this is heady company she's in now.
Yeah, we're dropping room references, Birdemic and Ready Player One.
Yeah.
Not the last Cline either, and it's not Ready Player One. I will tip the hand in advance.
Oh, this is news to me. I think I might have missed it.
All right.
He in this description, which as you noted, it goes on. Then she swallows and raises her head, regarding me with large, liquid brown eyes I could drown in. My mouth dries as my body comes to attention again. I mean, the cliches are terrible, but isn't this the second dry mouth of this short scene?
Yes.
What is happening to these people? They're losing their ability to salivate, and they're just like frozen.
It sounds like the list of side effects you get at the end of a medicine ad. Dry mouth, sudden groin stirrings.
Yeah. These two need to tell their doctor if they've recently been to countries where fungal infections are common.
This was good. I narrow my eyes as annoyance swiftly follows my desire. What the hell is wrong with me? Why does a woman I've never met have such an effect on me? Thank you. We have no idea why. This is baffling to all of us. She fixates on the handle of her mop, a slow flush staining her cheeks as she mumbles something unintelligible. And I believe that what she was muttering was, line.
Yeah.
Because this is exactly what this reminded me of. They're just unable to get a word out, and it's just. I mean, she started off writing Twilight fan fiction, so that was presented as how these people would interact with each other as a normal or romantic type of thing, but they were just stammering and looking at each other, and that's what this is.
Right, and so here they are staring at each other. We get this sentence. It's a distracting sight, very distracting. He's even more distracting upright than when he was lying down. Distracting from what? Right. This is currently what you are engaged with 100% of your being in doing is looking at him. So right. What is it distracting from? But there's a lot of distractions in this. There are a lot of lips and a lot of distractions. We'll note them as they come up.
Sure. Her lips are now rosy, the bottom lip, plumper than her top. Also sort of weird. I guess she's pouting, but she licks the upper one again, probably because she has a dry mouth. And here we get the very rarely seen hell italicized on its own line. So it's the hell variant. It's like when Ringo or George would get a song on the album. You don't get them that often, but when they do, they needed to make them count.
Here's another one, just so I don't miss it. Her white teeth chew at her upper lip as she refuses to meet my gaze. Okay. So this is the most demure woman who has ever lived. Mm-hmm. Every possible gesture of being subservient and, ooh, I'm sorry, I'm sort of sexy. And she's just a quivering mass of sort of, just subservient sex, just waiting right in front of him. So
right, and not to forget how she is dressed, which is the least attractive garment you could ever be wearing. But he then tells us, for a woman dressed in a nylon housecoat, she's hot. All right, we'll take your word for that. But and also wearing a babushka, and she's always like wearing weird clog shoes because she changes out of her soaking shoes because she can't seem to make it from her house to his without getting soaked every single time.
Yep, and then he's that phrase, saving the cat, when you're trying to make your hero likable. Yeah. You just have him be nice to children or animals or whatever, and have the woman, the romantic prospect, obviously looking on and seeing this. So his version of it is, yeah, I'm going to the gym. Go change my sheets. So that's what he commands her to do. So, and he's obviously he's aware of what state his sheets are in, because he just left there. Right. Yes. So she goes in. She throws a clean white sheet on the bed. She wonders what these items are for. She has no idea and doesn't want to hazard a guess. And I just thought, well, if she has no idea what they're for, then why doesn't she want to hazard a guess? It doesn't cost anything. What if you have no idea? Right. Here, these two chemicals, if you mix them together, they do a very interesting thing. I have no idea what they do. Yeah, I know, but don't you want to? No, I don't want to know. Right.
But she identified them. She said there were clothes and strange cuffs on the floor, and then she wonders why there was a wide silk ribbon tied to the headboard. It's like, so she wonders why that was there, but she just accepted that there are handcuffs lying on the ground. Like, so she's rock stupid, and I guess that's presented as just her innocence because she had never seen a naked man before. But you must have some idea handcuffs exist in Albania, right? But she's doing all this without any protest and stuff because she's so desperate to keep this job, because she is trying to quell her rising panic as she glances into the living room at the piano. No, that cannot happen. She will beg him to let her stay if she must. She doesn't want to leave. She can't leave. The piano is her one source of escape, her only happiness. Settle down. This is her third time in the apartment, and she's already just like ready to die for the ability to play the piano for 30 minutes each week.
These people also, they live in a constant state of, I wonder if their cardiovascular system is taxed at all times, because she says here, she's thinking of him, his honed stomach, his bare feet, his intense eyes sear her imagination. It's just, I mean, she's living in a state of, she's at an 11 all the time.
That was another one where it was like all three of those things, if we're following the rules of grammar. So his bare feet are searing your imagination currently. Like they're like, you're walking across hot coals. That's how it's happening with your imagination. It just is leaving sizzling. I don't know.
Well, it's stated explicitly here, which I'm taking notes on it. So he's so handsome. Oh, okay. All right. Got it. I'm gonna make a note of that, and you don't need to mention it again.
Sure, yeah. It was sort of implied. It would be an amazing twist if you got all the way through one of these novels, and the last sentence was, by the way, he looked like the Elephant Man. Right. This entire time. That's the twist. Take that.
He had
book
large
club.
sacks of smelly flesh hanging down off the back of his shoulders.
Yeah, the end.
We go to his workout then, and this is something that struck me. He's angry. It's an angry workout. It's Kevin Bacon in Footloose, going into that shed and dancing. Mm-hmm. It's angry workout, and he says, "Of course, doing weights gives me space to think." To which I reply, well, "Of course. I mean, why did you even write this? We the readers, you embarrass us and yourself when you even mention it. Of course we know that doing weights gives you space to think."
Sure, doing weights. But yeah, so after he works out, he's on his way to go meet his mother and sister, and this was one of my favorite passages in this section so far. "I stride into my mother's favorite restaurant on Aldwych. I'm early, but I don't give a fuck." It's like, why would you? Who has ever cared that you're early? Like, would the only thing that concern you being late? I mean, like, so it was like he's the bad boy of this book in the lamest way possible. Like, "I'm driving well within the legal speed limit, signaling all my turns, but I've got zero fucks to give about that."
I underpromised and over-delivered.
Yeah, bad boy.
Take that.
So I wasn't sure what we were supposed to take away from that. But so we get to meet his sister, who he's very attached to. He says she's like the only woman he cares about or something like that. But then his mom shows up. And so just if you're not reading the book along with us, we're going to let you guess. So his mom, you think she's probably frumpy, worn down by life, like just, motherly in her appearance.
I imagine, big glasses, plump, cheerful, sort of bubbly, but world weary. And she's clearly, pulling down those two jobs is not easy. So she's tired around the edges, but a lovable housefrau is what I'm thinking.
He stopped asking her to dye her hair blue because everyone can tell, but she just, she's ignored it enough that he has stopped mentioning it and sort of has stopped noticing it too.
Finds it kind of a cute feature too. Yeah. It's not, it's charming in its own way.
She is still impossibly slim and impossibly beautiful, especially through a lens. She was the it girl of her generation and had become the muse of many a photographer. So those of us who have been listening the whole way might be inclined to remember the protagonists of Armada's insanely hot mom, who spent all her time watching back-to-back viewings of Say Anything, but still maintained a gorgeous toned physique, which the character felt the need to comment on.
Oh, and what is the magazine she runs? So she runs like a... Dernière Cri, the glossy women's magazine.
Is that real?
I don't know. I think the phrase means like, the latest thing, or
it's Vogue.
Yeah, Vogue. Yes.
So she's just a rich woman who's still turning heads and is banging younger dudes back in her New York apartment where she spares her time. Right. And he goes to emphasize, this is one of my pet peeves. They're like something about their dad had died of a heart attack, and then she had gone to shack up with these younger kids. And then he drops this: 4 years after their divorce, Dad died of a broken heart. And that's just something that always bothers me when people employ that lazy, he always had a big heart, and in the end, his heart was what could do. It's like, okay, we understand that that heart can refer to his kindness and generosity, and then you can also you can die because your arteries are blocked. That those two are not necessarily related here.
I wrote down, that's possible? I mean, in the real world? I mean, come on. It's a cliche that is so lazy, but when you actually, come on, if you're trying to write real people don't die of broken hearts. And
yes.
If so, you've got to tease that out a little more.
Sure.
Here's a thing I noted. We're back to what's her name is musing and, searing her memory, being seared by his feet. And she places the items in his laundry basket and checks the bathroom. The fresh, clean scent of his soap hangs in the air. Closing her eyes, she inhales, and suddenly she's transported back to the tall evergreens that surround her parents' house in Kukez or whatever.
Sure.
And I just thought the brand manager of Kirkland brand bulk shower gel probably surprises his wife at work and brings her to a bar to celebrate. Someone gets it.
Yeah. Right.
It's like, I mean, inhaling his soap, I guess.
He's like, it was on sale, and I'm glad it turned you on. But at this point, it seems like pretty much everything I do is probably going to elicit that reaction from you, honey. So,
right. And then in the restaurant, he informs us about his brother at the funeral. I hadn't wept either, which I mused on. I was like, yes, it's dark business. This is it unresolved feelings about your brother, jealousness, the tortured and complex relationship with his widow? Well, let me read on. I'd been too busy nursing one hell of a hangover. Yeah. Party. Woo.
Yeah. It's the sort of thing that he's obviously going to have a turn of heart here. So I guess you have to make him bad in the beginning so that he can find true love with his house cleaner. But they're certainly going overboard with the getting hammered and showing up only to bang the widow within 24 hours of that as well. Probably having done cocaine as well.
Right. But yeah, Mom is, of course, a brittle, domineering force to be reckoned with. Yeah, man, is she hot?
She's like, giving him crap about grandchildren. She's intrigued that the widow might be pregnant, because that will mean something about like how they get to keep their estates or something like that. It's all very British, so we don't understand how it works out. But she even starts tearing up midway through the dinner, and they feel bad about that. Although, his mom, the Harridan, is probably just putting on crocodile tears in order to get her way, since that is the archetype that she's inhabiting.
This was one of those occasions where lines they seem to happen concurrently, but then she's putting the big spaces in there. Which I don't get. Maximilian, would you mind addressing me as mother? When you start behaving like one, I'll take it into consideration. But there's a giant space between those two. So this is it's getting more blatant now. They're just filling out the pages.
Sure. Yeah. I wasn't sure what to make of those, because sometimes they transition between the first and third person when it switches the characters, and other times they're just like, line. Yeah.
Other times time passes, but sometimes it just don't. It's just obviously right immediately following. I don't get it.
But yeah, they have that lunch, and they drink their Bloody Marys, and he goes home though, and then he picks up a piece of music. He debates. I think he turns down Carolyn, says he's busy watching TV, but then he picks up this piece of music he's been working on, and he starts like composing more of it. He gets over his writer's block. The notes ring out through the room, evocative, melancholic, stirring me, inspiring me. I am cleaner, mister. So that was his inspiration. Her mumbling like the character on Taxi. I am cleaner, mister.
Yes, Latka Gravis.
So yeah, that's if only he had someone like that. All those guys with their unfinished symphonies might have been able to finish the damn things. If they. Well,
I thought about that too. Is that so? He's doing it at the moment, and then he's thinking that his own music is evocative, melancholic, and his own music is stirring him and inspiring him. And I thought Wagner would often stop while composing the Ring cycle and go, what I'm doing here is evocative, melancholic, It's stirring me, inspiring me.
Then he'd swipe through Tinder a couple times just to
Maybe
kill
get some blow.
All right. Well, that's how the chapter ends with him composing, and we can move on to chapter 5.
Yes, chapter 5. Let's get to it. At the beginning of the chapter, she looks out over the Thames, and what does she see? Does she see people frolicking in the park? Or is there maybe
jet skis? Yeah,
jet skis, and a lot of hacky sack.
People pushing hoops with sticks.
Yeah, smiling kids.
Those guys doing those things where you bounce one stick on two other ones.
Mm-hmm.
Like with no.
There's a little a wacky fun run going on. No, no, it's dark and gray like the naked trees on the opposite bank. Not like the Drin. That's the river in Albania, is that right?
Yeah. Hey, if the Drin is so great, maybe give it a better name, because the Drin is not drawing any people to its banks. Okay.
And then she goes to empty the trash, and this is a really beautiful moment. Her last job in his bedroom is to empty the trash. To her disbelief, she finds the basket empty. There are no used condoms. Aw. That's actually supposed to be a really soft moment.
He's turning a corner type of thing. This is something that I wanted to talk about. All she had been able to do was think about him since their last encounter. She doesn't understand why, though. Perhaps it's the brief, penetrating stare he gave her when he towered over her in the hallway, or because he's handsome, and tall and lean, with dimples on his back above his muscled, athletic behind. Behind starts coming up a lot, and maybe I'm just, I don't know, jaded or something, but it seems very weird for all the horrible filth she sent our way that seems like how like Winnie the Pooh would be like, oh, I was, I fell on my behind, piglets type of thing. Like it's just such a weird euphemism that like a kindergartner teacher would use. And then in other scenes, you've got people raking people's backs as he's tying them up with silk things and asking for a safe word.
Right. It's how families all invent their own names. Like your little boop boop, your bottom, your gloob gloob. Your little behind.
Yeah, I guess it's normal, but it just is in the context. It doesn't seem. It's just stood out to me.
Yeah, well, I wonder what the British variations on. So you got arse, you got your fanny, and you're behind. I just don't know what the hierarchy is in their terms of that.
Sure, which is more vulgar and stuff like that. But
backside,
she gets
backside's the other one, right?
Yes,
backside.
definitely. That's always taut and dimpled as well. Handsome, some might say. But then she gets a grip on herself. She says, "Stop! Her wayward thoughts are out of control." As opposed to the wayward thoughts that you've got a firm grip on and are able to really just hone in on.
So then she goes into his room where he's also thinking about her. Obviously, I mean, my God, both of them are seared to their core. Their body temperature is at 185 degrees.
Yes, right. They're demonstrating signs of mania and Saint Vitus dance.
But then there's an extended horny wolf scene.
Amazing.
With him watching her dust the piano, and it's I can't even describe how it's so over the top. I don't even take many. I mean, you could just, the whole thing is just unbelievable.
I got it. We've got to read it, but we've got to set the stage, because as she was going to go become happy by seeing no used condoms in his trash can, she walked away, and he's ogling her. Long pale legs, a gentle sway of slim hips. Are those bright pink underpants I can see through the nylon? They cover her backside and come up to her waist. They are possibly the largest knickers I've seen on a woman, and my body stirs like I'm a 13-year-old boy. So somehow, yes, like you said before, her house coat is translucent.
I guess we're gonna have to look this up.
Like it's I don't know what that would be. Like a see-through raincoat seems like something you'd see in like an arty music video or something. Like, I don't know. But so she walks in. and he's like sitting trying to calculate some numbers on his estate or something like that, looking busy. But then she finishes with the sofa and her eyes stray toward me. So maybe I'll read this and you can say what the horny cartoon wolf will be doing in this situation. I endeavored to look engrossed in the spreadsheet in my hand while the hairs on the back of my neck rise to attention. Taking the can of polish, she sprays some onto the cloth she's holding and heads to the piano.
Well, right now his feet are fully off the ground. He's levitating above the earth itself. His knees are sort of tucked up by his shoulders.
With another quick, anxious glance at me, she begins the slow process of buffing it to a brilliant shine.
The tongue, which has been extended all the way out, he pulls on like a window shade, and it rolls up and flaps in his mouth.
She stretches across it, the housecoat rising to above the backs of her knees.
2 fingers in his mouth, he does an actual wolf whistle, just a piercing loud, and smashes himself on the head with a hammer.
Oh, God, with a deliberate and even pace, she works her way around the piano, buffing and polishing.
Now he's on the floor doing those scooting circles like Curly, where he's going, just making a vain circle on the floor.
Her breathing becoming faster and harder with the exertion.
Now he has to take a spatula and peel his own self off the ceiling where he has floated up to.
It's agonizing. I close my eyes and imagine how I could elicit the same response from her. So yeah, incredible. Like the least sexy thing being done by the least sexy outfitted woman somehow being made erotic. And like, I read that and I, gigantic circle around it being like beyond parody. In the next sentence, he does something like, "Calm down, old boy. This is starting to get farcical." But like,
yeah, it became self-aware.
Yeah, you can't do that
farcical.
though.
I know, you can't. Yeah, that violates every rule and good taste there. I mean, the whole thing does, but obviously then making the comment on itself is pretty bad.
Right, and there's been one or two other times when she did that, because obviously this woman knows what she's doing and what she's writing for. But I don't know if you could do this. You couldn't be. If you tried to do a parody of this, it would not ring true, I think. So yeah. She's mostly playing it straight. It's like what passes for humor in a Marvel movie, where like it's like always just a character being like, "Didn't you used to have longer hair?" Like, I don't know. That's my impression of humor in a Marvel movie.
Right. The meta commentary as a substitute for humor.
Yeah.
This is one of the weirdest. Again, a weird lip sentence here, and I've collected a few for later, but her eyes widen with embarrassment. Once again, she's like, "Oh boy, is I being so sexy?" Her eyes widen with embarrassment. Her tongue escapes from her mouth to lick her upper lip as a rosy flush stains her cheeks. I mean, she sounds like some hideous creature in that.
Yeah, like
my tongue
Gollum
escapes.
in his cave with gold or something. Like, there's a guy. Oh man, I'm gonna have to look it up as we speak. But there's a guy in one of our shorts at Riff Tracks who had the most off-putting lips I've ever seen. Making sense with sentences.
Oh,
if you guys want to look that one up. His name is the Sentence Smith, and he is just the most revolting lipped guy. He's wearing a big puffy pirate shirt, and he's got a monkey in his office. But his lips are just like, and he talks. "Oh, well, you want to learn how to make sentences?" To a little boy. So
yeah, he's wearing lederhosen, and he has a monkey, and that's the most appealing thing about him. His lips.
So look him up, and his lips are what I'll be thinking of every time I do that. Let's do a lip activity of the week department.
Yeah, okay.
How about that? Best lip sentence.
That's a good one. Well, there's sure to be many more. There's 300 instances
lips.
of it.
This is great because if you thought she was smiling and happy by the side of the condomless trash can, you have not seen nothing yet. She's after she horny wolfifies him with her piano cleaning. She goes to get the vacuum, and the vacuum cleaner is a make called Henry. Painted on his red cylinder are 2 big eyes and a smile. Whenever she sees Henry, she can't help but smile. So that's what gets her boat rocking, is the empty trash cans and this little shop vac. And he's already my favorite character, Henry.
Yeah, look him up. That's another assignment for you listeners. Look up it's a common vacuum cleaner. I think I've had them at rental places in the UK. It's very common, and it's just a stupid googly eyes painted on the nozzle or on the side of the thing.
Yeah, he's like the brave little toaster, but that gets her every time.
Every time.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, here's a cheap thing. This is an eye roller again. So he's musing on how he could like this woman, which is obviously no mystery to anyone, and anyone who's ever seen men or has lived on Earth for a few years knows that it's, she's a super hot woman. But he says, I know nothing about her except she's unlike any woman I've ever met. The women in my life are bold and confident and know what they want and how to ask for it. She's not like that. Demure. Oh, is she demure? And totally focused on her job. Alicia seems reluctant to engage with me, almost as if she wants to be invisible. Yeah, it's so weird because horny men are known for their exquisite discernment when they're
right.
You're horny for everything you ever see. Like, what is the
right?
Suddenly, we're getting these fine distinctions on the women that was Heather one of those? I don't recall that being a thing.
And also, he's demure, totally focused on her job, reluctant to engage with me. Has he ever met another cleaning lady before?
Yeah,
like in a hotel or anything like that? Like, was the last person he fired like some sassy broad who was like snapping one-liners at him, being like, trash can's pretty full today, darling, and then slapping him on the ass? Like, they're pretty much not, I'm sure there are bold cleaning ladies out there, but in the role they are serving as their job, they're for the most part trying to stay out of your way, and apologizing if they come into your room while you're still in there, type of thing.
Right. I guess the previous versions had been like, waiters at TGI Fridays or something. Hey, gang, can I start you off with some poppers or something? How's it going there, buddy?
Yeah. You liking those 600 thread count sheets? Because I can up them to 900. You just say the word.
Yeah. We'll get you a pillowcase tagging along with that there, champ.
So yeah, he's but the other line right before that sentence was, how could she have worked her way under my skin in such a short time? Please elaborate on that question that you posed rhetorically, because we are actual humans who understand how these things usually work. But so yeah, he goes back to he realizes that she is while she was hornily dusting his piano, that she had looked at his sheet music, and he's starting to wonder that she might be able to read music or play the piano. And he says, part of me wants to know what she thinks of my composition, but I realize I'm just speculating. My only certainty right now is the dull ache in my groin. And at this point, I think he ought to go get checked out, because there is a distinct chance that this constant pain and aching could be some form of testicular cancer.
Right.
Like, it's an ongoing thing.
Well, he certainly has the priapism, so he needs to get that dealt with too. But yeah.
Right. But yeah, so they continue cleaning and stuff. We get some. He goes to a meeting with Oliver, whoever, and there was just one note about that. He sort of talks about his family's holdings, and there was one thing that just, since I don't imagine these are going to be too important, but he drops this thing in. John, my father, the 11th Earl of Trevithick, had pioneered organic farming, while all his contemporaries had sneered at his initiative.
Right.
So his dad was the first ever organic farmer. We're just going to throw that into the family's backstory. Yeah. And that amused me. You could really pick anything. He could be just a successful organic farmer. He didn't have to be the first guy in all of England to own an organic farm.
Right. But then he... oh, wait. I might have skipped ahead to chapter 6. Sorry.
Oh. Well, so in chapter 5, all he did was they both relieved themselves. They woke up and were thinking about each other, so they took care of business. He gets a text from Carolyn that says, "I'm not pregnant," crying emoticon. So that made for a dramatic dozen pages where there was a chance she might have been pregnant.
Which I guess that would have taken away his holdings, right? Because the son...
Yeah, I guess so. Which he seems to not want.
It seems quite ambivalent about it. So that's not really a plot point, really, I don't think. Unless it's a surprise later, like, haha, I was plotting it all along or something.
Sure, but then she comes out and they get hammered at another name brand restaurant, and she orders a name brand mule from the restaurant, and so she gets hammered and comes home and wants to bang him again, but he sort of, we can't do this anymore type of thing. She asks for blow again. So if she is playing the long game, she's doing it rather recklessly.
Right. But yeah, his only reason for demurring on the sex is, of course, that he doesn't want to have that basket filled with them in the morning for Alicia. So
he knows how happy it made her to see it empty, so he doesn't want to fill her up again.
He put the vacuum cleaner in his bed as a surprise for her. He just wanted to see her smile again.
I wonder if, like, so if he came home hammered and like Carolyn threw up or something, if she like pulled out Henry the thing and was sucking up her vomit the next day through his like willing mouth hose, if she would be still smiling just because it happens every single time. She's retching back her own vomit at the smell of the bile, but just his friendly smile is overwhelming that. Carolyn also says she's like she realizes that he's been smitten, and she says, "This is not like you. You're never distracted by one of your conquests." And he says, "I can't help my hollow laugh. She's not a conquest, not by any stretch of my imagination." And that was another, that and taut and firm are words that we're only going to get, I think, in romance novels. I've never heard anyone use that outside of talking about history in terms of conquest.
Right. Yeah. The Cairo sort of teasing him about this it's really like a high school thing. Like, you like her? I do not. Right. Shut up. I don't. I never said I did. But you can tell. I know. Let me see your notebook. No, don't take it. No, there's her name in the front of it. It's really clumsy and stupid.
Just best friend stuff, grieving ex-widow stuff. We've all been
right. You are my best friend.
Yeah, well, I think that's all I've got for this week. That's how Chapter 5 ends, with her crawling back into bed, but he's glad he's got his pajamas on so she can't start running her fingers, all over his junk.
Right. Yeah, that's all I got.
All right. Well, we can do some dumb sentences, though.
A sentence begins with a capital letter. A capital letter is a letter that's big. A capital letter is not a small letter. A capital letter is big, big, big. A sentence ends with a period, or an exclamation, or a question mark. A sentence always ends.
All right. Let's do it. Start us off.
All right. So first one, this was Jordan. He wrote, I think this is Caro. Oh, no, yeah. You're whoring your way through your grief while I had to endure dinner with Daddy and the step-sow alone. It was awful, she quips. And he says, my dumb sentence of the week regards the usage of the word quip. What is witty about this? Because we've already seen step-sow used to refer to their stepmother, which is just gross. So yeah, she says, her quip was, I had to endure dinner with Daddy and the step-sow alone. It was awful. So yeah, bar for quipping, very low.
Yeah, that is in the Bartlett's Book of Quotations.
That's one of Oscar Wilde's finest. It was awful.
Often attributed to Winston Churchill, he did not say
that. Wendy said, running, fucking, and fencing, they keep me fit. I feel like two of them might have a bit more impact on your health, but sure. Let it keep us informed on your workout routine. Philip writes, she responds, her hair grabbing fistfuls of my hair as our tongues lock. He says, not how tongues work. Also, how scary would it be if they actually did lock together? Like, that was always a rumor, like, or something in like Judy Blume books where like your braces would lock if you were kissing.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know if that ever happened outside of teen novels, but it seems like it would be difficult for anything to lock without braces being involved.
Yeah, it was a junior high fear. I know. I've never heard of it happening. But, yeah.
I had a couple runner-up. Don't caro me, you wanker. Another one. He's ruthless and ambitious, but he knows his way a balance sheet and can deal with the numerous personnel who answer to the Earl of Trevithick. And my winner, which you already touched on, but it was just still my favorite. I think we just read it one more time for good measure. I've just inherited a vast estate in Cornwall, an estate in Oxfordshire, another in Northumberland, and a small portion of London. But at what cost?
There's
Relatable.
That would be a good competition too. But at what cost?
Yes.
Leading up to that.
Right. Like, I don't are you talking about the tax implications? You're going to be able to handle it, I'm sure. Like, you're devoting a couple hours a year week towards maintaining this vast wealth so you can keep DJing, you dumbass. All right. Whatever you have.
Well, I put aside, we touched on this already, but I put aside, here were some runners up. Now was one. Go was another. Cold. No. Walk. Tired. And dirty were all runners up.
Wow, that's a whole top 10 list.
But I settled upon when she discovered the condoms in the trash. Oh. There was all set off by its own self was a single line. Ugh. So that's my sentence of that.
Oh, that's before she discovered and before she was made happy by them not being there.
Right, yes.
Okay.
No, when she discovered it, it's just ugh. So it's always good. You need that to just sit alone by itself to just savor that sentence, the prose, the masterful. It's Hemingway. That's tight. It says what it needs to say.
That's exactly. Yes, I am going to search Amazon for Hemingway and the reviews people have used to leave this to describe this book.
You know what I'd like to do right now, if you'll indulge me in this. I'm going to just pause this recording, and we're both going to look up a British housecoat, and then we'll come back with a description. Does that sound good to you? All right, be right back. Okay. All right, we're back after some Googling images there. And what I came up with was what I had described earlier. It's like sort of a quilted, shiny, shapeless robe.
Yeah.
And many pictures of robes came up as well.
Yeah, very robe-like. It looks sort of like it looks like the bedspread you would take off your hotel room, like that sort of polyester look to it, but in a exactly a shapeless robe.
How it could be see-through, I'm puzzling that out. I did not see a single example of a translucent version of it.
How it could be see-through is a very good question. How it can be sexy, however, I have found an example of it. I'm going to send it to you on air right now, the picture that I found.
Oh, God.
So take a look at that.
All right. I'm clicking on it right now. Should I open? Oh, come on.
So there you. I mean, if she's wearing that and posing in such a manner, I think we have our answer.
I'll leave it to you to describe this photo.
That's where it looks like a hotel bedspread in a sort of quilted manner. Covers up mercifully a lot of her.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
The person's body. It's a old brass bed, and there's wallpaper that looks to pretty much match the house coat. And
the person wearing the house coat resembles. I don't know if this helps at all, but I recently saw a documentary about the first James Bond, George Lazenby, an Irish sort of handsome, rugged guy. He's in it. He's still alive, I think. So picture George Lazenby in his 60s wearing a blonde wig. That's who's
dressing as
wearing
Dame
his
Edna.
housecoat.
Yes.
Yes.
So we'll post that for the lucky people I decide to post it for. But anyway, let that color your image of the nylon housecoat going forward.
Right.
But I assume he's going to be getting her something a bit more suitable for cleaning. But yeah, that's a good note to end on. I think for next time we're going to read. Well, hey, before we do that, I'd like to thank our Patreon supporters, of course, who have been very generous and get to hear all of these before everybody else. So they've been reading the Mister before anybody. They got they rated it on Amazon, and they are also helping support a great cause, which is the 826 National that we send part of our earnings to every month that helps kids write books that are not going to turn out like E.L. James books. So thanks again to Patreon. You guys can chip in at patreon.com/372pages if so inclined. Maybe I'll just post the picture of the nylon housecoat to Patreon. Maybe you got to hop on there if you want to see it.
I think so. And you know what? I think maybe just consider this as our first merch, a house coat with the...
Oh, my God.
Well, I mean, we sort of giveaway merch before, but something to actually peddle.
Yeah, we'll look into it.
Yeah, a nylon translucent house coat with our logo on it. I think it's going to sell like gangbusters.
Oh, it'll ruin us. All right. So yeah, thanks again, everybody. Next week, we're going to read through chapter 9. That's the same amount of pages as this time, 156. And that's, through chapter 9. You will stop at the sentence, "The engine growls into life." How do we get there? What engine? Is the engine stirring? Does it make anything else stir? Well, we'll find out.
How handsome is it?
But yeah, does it make her smile every time she looks at it?
We'll find out next time on 372 Pages We'll Never Get Back.